This is the METS POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the New York Mets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Jonah Tong allowed only 3 hits in his second major league start. Unfortunately, all 3 of them went over the fence as the Mets fall in the second game of this series to the Cincinnati Reds by a final of 6-3. Welcome into the Mets postcast here, live on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel, the Locked On Mets podcast feed. I'm your postcast host, Chris Schubert, here with you after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season. Jonah Tong making his second start in the majors, hoping to follow up what was a decent, I thought very good first start in his MLB debut, and hit a little bit of a wall in this one. Struggled with the command of his breaking stuff, served up those 3 home runs that I mentioned, and the Mets did not give him 19 runs worth of run support. A tough couple nights for the Mets offense. We'll get into that here as well. But we'll start with the guy that was on the mound, the second major league start for Jonah Tong. We'll tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly.
This is what you'll be talking about.
I'll be honest with many of you. I find myself conflicted about how to feel with Jonah Tong's second start. I look at the final box score, and I look at the command of the off-speed pitches, and I would say it was a rough night for Jonah Tong. Served up 3 long balls after only giving up 2 across both AA and AAA combined in the minors. Gave up 3 in a ballpark that, let's face it, home runs are going to happen, but just didn't feel like he had that sharpness. Didn't feel like he had that extra bite. Really could only get the fastball over, and when he missed with the fastball, the Reds were all over it in this game. So that's the one side of my brain that feels like this is not the start that I thought Jonah Tong could have had tonight. Thought it was really nice that he battled and gave the Mets 6 innings. Then there's the other part of me. The part of me that forgets about what Nolan McLean has been doing. Forgetting about what Jonah Tong did in his first start. Forgetting for just a second about the struggles that the Mets starters have had here as of late. And there's part of me that goes, that's what a rookie starter second start probably supposed to look like, right? He's supposed to struggle. He's supposed to have a little bit of adversity. He's supposed to show the ability to battle. He shouldn't come up here and dominate every single start out as a 21, 22-year-old pitcher who started the year in AA and now in the middle of September is being called upon to start important games for this team. Got to put it in its proper context. You take that start in a vacuum for one of your top prospects in the system. You ask him to come up and save your season, save your pitching problems, putting a lot of pressure on him. Nolan McLean has really thrived under that pressure. Maybe it's unfair of us to expect Jonah Tong to follow the same track, the same path that Nolan McLean has followed so far. I thought Jonah Tong was fine tonight. Made 3 mistakes. 3 mistakes that went over the fence. 3 mistakes that cost the Mets the game here tonight. But he made 3 mistakes, only allowed 3 hits, and battled and gave this team 6 innings. Again, in a vacuum, I don't think that's a bad start. But with the starting pitching woes, David Peterson wasn't great in his last start. Clay Holmes can't get through 5 innings. Kodai Senga getting sent down to the minors. Who knows what you're going to get from Sean Manaea? We are all clamoring, hoping that these 3 young kids can save the Mets bacon, can save their pitching problems, because it's really all the Mets have left at this point. The fact that they're sending down Kodai Senga and calling up Brandon Sproat for tomorrow's game, the fact that they have been aggressive in promoting these 3 kids up to the rotation shows you that the hope relies on these guys. So not the night Jonah Tong wanted, not the night we wanted, but I think in the proper context of it's the dude's second major league start, I think you'll take him battling the way that he did. It was a rare rough night for the offense. And Paul in the YouTube comments says the Bats had an off night. They left 10 men on base. And I'll go through each single scenario that the Mets had in this game that cost them. In the 3rd inning, bases loaded with the ball not leaving the infield. They get 1 run in that inning. In the 5th inning, a 1-out double from Lindor, 10 straight at-bats at that point that he gets on base. I believe that's the time he gets thrown out at 3rd. In the 6th inning, a 1-out double from Pete. Nothing happens there. You get a Jared Young homer in the 7th. You get second and third with 2 outs in the 8th, and then you get that rally in the 9th, and you're unable to get more than just the 1 run on the wild pitch across. You left 10 men on base. Mets, as of late, since about August 1st, have been really solid. Runners in scoring position, hitting with 2 outs, just capitalizing. They were great to start the game last night, but since about the 4th inning of the game yesterday, since about the 4th inning of the game Friday night, feels like we've been watching a different offense. Just a team that for the last game and a half have seemed to struggle a little bit. And so Lindor is playing really great right now, right? He got snapped later on in the game, but 10 straight at-bats, getting on base, hit the double in the 9th to at least get 1 run across for the Mets. He gets to second, gets over to third, scores on the wild pitch. The offense deserves a mulligan here. They've been great since August 1st, but tonight was a night where they had chances. You can pinpoint multiple times throughout the course of this game where they had moments to come through. And whether it was running into outs on the base paths, and I certainly want to dive into that a little bit more, if it's Pete Alonso struggling, if it's Mark Vientos having some rough at-bats tonight, just felt like things were off from the word go. They didn't give that early run support to Jonah Tong like they did in his first start, and they were behind the 8 ball a little early in this game, and they just were never really able to battle back. Do I think it's a cause for concern moving forward? No, this offense has been great for over a month now. I feel like they're going to be fine. They certainly had chances tonight, so it wasn't for a lack of having some awful at-bats that didn't even give them opportunities. I just listed off to you just some of the ones that I, put down that they had. So they could have scored more in that 3rd inning when they had the bases loaded. They had second and third with 2 outs in the 8th. They could have made the game closer going into the 9th. They had a chance to get the tying run. Tying run was on deck in that 9th inning. So it wasn't like the Mets were just held in check over the course of 9 innings tonight. Just felt like they couldn't get the ball over the goal line, right? It felt like they got it down into the red zone. They just couldn't finish the drive. That's what it felt like tonight. There have been times this year where we've watched this offense, they don't even get the drive over midfield. They don't even get the ball into the red zone, to use a football analogy, since it's week 1 of the NFL season. There are times we've watched this offense, they can't even get the drive going. They got the drive going, put it into field goal range right outside the red zone. They just couldn't finish the job. Cause for concern? No, but just felt like they could have taken this one back from the Reds. Felt like the Reds only got those 3 hits against Tong, only got those 3 home runs, and it was 4-1 for the longest time in this game. Jared Young hits the home run off the bench to make it 4-2. You feel like the Mets are back in it with the way their offense is playing, that they can steal this one back, and they just couldn't get it done. So just a weird off night for this offense. Not reading too much into it long term, but definitely cost them the chance to come back and win this one. Got to talk about the Mets getting thrown out on the base paths a lot here as of late. Also want to talk about other stuff to keep an eye on here as well. Plus, your thoughts always welcome here on the Mets Postcast. We'll get to all of it here on the other side. This episode brought to you by Zippix Toothpicks. Whether you're looking for a nicotine satisfaction or an energy boost, Zippix has you covered with the nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, Zippix provides a discreet way to satisfy those cravings and the hand-to-mouth habit without vaping or smoking. Zippix can be a helpful tool as you work to reduce your dependence on vaping. Available in 6 great flavors with 2 milligram and 3 milligram nicotine options. And if you need energy without the crash, their caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. Go to zippixtoothpicks.com. Use the code LOCKEDON for 10% off your first order. Must be 21 or older to order. Warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's zippixtoothpicks.com. Promo code LOCKEDON. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix Toothpicks. It's time for you to fuel up, turn it up. 5-hour energy transfusion. Grape, ginger, lime flavored shot. Going to bring the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power you through the day, 5-hour energy transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. The grape, ginger, lime flavor of 5-hour energy transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down the Bev cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. Back here on the Mets Postcast, Locked On Mets YouTube channel, the Locked On Mets podcast feed. Chris Schubert here with you, recapping this tough one for the Mets. As missed opportunity here tonight, right? As things currently stand, Giants are winning, Padres are also winning, so the Mets are going to allow the Giants to get closer in the wild card standings, going to allow the Padres to reopen a small lead over the Mets for that second wild card spot. And that just goes to show you how important each of these individual games are going to be with 20 games to go. Just feels like you have to take advantage of every opportunity that you get, because when you do slip up, when you do have a night like the Mets had tonight, other teams around baseball, both the Giants and the Padres, look like they're going to take advantage. And the Mets are going to drop a game in the standings to the Padres and also move the Giants and the Reds one game closer in the standings for that third and final wild card spot. I want to talk about the stolen base strategy for the New York Mets. It's been a long-term talking point here on the postcast. So much praise has gone to the Mets staff for the job that they've done, the Mets player personnel for what they have done, stealing bases this year, turning it into a huge advantage, a huge part of their game plan, allowing them to extend their offense, give themselves another way to get more chances with runners in scoring position. But it feels like as of late, teams are making a smallish adjustment. I don't think it's completely flipped to where the Mets are always running themselves out of innings. But it started Philly series. What was that? 2 weeks ago at Citi Field. If you remember when, I believe it was Juan Soto, Harper gets the pickoff throw and then doesn't throw it. And then Soto was safe at second base. That felt like when things started to turn and teams were getting a better handle on how to control the run game a little bit better against the Mets. And it's happened a lot more. We've had some of those pickoffs happen. And tonight they got thrown out by a catcher for the first time since June 12th. It was Lindor trying to go from second to third. That felt weird, right? Soto's in the box. It's a close game at that point. That run, it's a multi-run game, so that run isn't super critical. It just felt like a weird time to try to do that. And so it feels like there needs to be a little bit of a reset here. I don't want them to completely remove this from the game, but we now got to be more selective as a team. We have to kind of rein it back in, and that's going to be on the coaching staff, and it's going to be on the players themselves to understand, okay, we were getting away with this for a while. We were really kind of dominating teams with this. They're starting to make that adjustment. We're good enough. We're talented enough. We're well coached enough. Let's make the adjustment to their adjustment and still have this be a threat on the base pass and still allow us to use it to our advantage here with 20 games to go. The other stuff to keep an eye on for the second straight night, it was Ryan Stanek, the first guy out of the bullpen in the Reed Garrett role. And look, this is kind of what I said last night. I'm not sure I trust Ryan Stanek to be the first guy out of the bullpen. Not sure I trust him to be in that spot. Some nights he's going to look like he did on Friday. And with the Mets having a one-run lead, he does his job. And then there are going to be nights like tonight where it's a close game. You're trailing, but you're trying to keep it close. You're trying to keep it within striking distance. And I'm just not willing to put Ryan Stanek in that trust tree. I'm just not willing to do it. Circle of trust, trust triangle. I don't know what we've decided how we want to phrase it here on the postcasts. But he's just not there for me, right? It's just, I have not gotten there. I've tried to. Early on in the year, it was just that bad series in Washington, but it has just gotten worse and worse as the season has gone on. And tonight you saw the flip side of that coin. Good news on that front. It looks like Reed Garrett could be back as early as tomorrow. Mets could activate him tomorrow. And I know Reed was kind of struggling before he got placed on the injured list. And so it is a question mark what version of Reed Garrett the Mets will get. But I'm certainly more comfortable trying it out with Reed Garrett in that spot rather than Ryan Stanek. So we'll see what the roster move is for him. Probably going to be Kevin Herget, if I had to guess, who once again did a good job out of the pen for the Mets tonight, sopping up some of those innings. But yeah, so Ryan Stanek for the second straight night. He comes out of the pen as the first man through. You see the flip side of that coin. Brent says, I think in retrospect, Mendoza using Stanek and Herget tonight might have been smart. I'm wondering if his thinking was perhaps that the offense feels off tonight and we have a rested bullpen tomorrow. I mean, Brent, I think that's certainly looking at it with the benefit of hindsight now that we know the result, now that we know the Mets offense couldn't do enough. When he brought Stanek in, the game was still within reach, right? Because that would have been Tong went 6. That was the bottom of the 7th. Jared Young hits the home run. It's 4-2. I mean, that's a bloop and a blast. And you've got guys all over this lineup that can provide the bloop and provide the blast. So, no, you still have to manage that game at that point. This is a 2-run game. I need to keep this close. My offense at any moment, even with it being off, could flip that switch and we can be right back in it. And you saw, and they scored a run in the 9th inning on a wild pitch. Anything can happen once you put the ball in play and you have runners on the base path. So it felt like he was trying to keep the game close. And I guarantee you it had a lot to do with, well, it worked last night. Ryan Stanek got me the outs I needed last night, so we're going to go to him again. And now this is the flip side of that coin. So it was just a disappointing night for Stanek. And with Garrett coming back, I think we'll see him go back into that role. Before we get out of here, a quick programming note for tomorrow. It is Brandon Sproat's debut. It is the finale of this series. Unfortunately, I will not be here doing the Mets postcasts. That is because I don't know how many of you there are out there. We'll see if there's any crossover here. Week 1 of the NFL season, I am also the host of the Jets postcasts. So 2 teams are playing around the same time. I will be doing the Jets postcast tomorrow. So no Mets postcast from me, from Brandon Sproat's debut. I will be over handling Justin Fields versus Aaron Rodgers for the New York Jets. Don't worry, I'll be back next week right here in this chair. You're not losing me for the rest of the season, just when the 2 teams are playing at exactly or at least close to the same time. I'll be over there handling the Jets side of things. The Mets fall tonight. Jonah Tong, again, in a vacuum, I thought it was an okay start for a kid making his 2nd start at the big league level. And you saw the fight. You saw the reason why the organization is so high on him. You saw early how good that fastball can be. The problem, he couldn't get the breaking pitches over. Had zero feel for that changeup early, and it just made him a one-pitch pitcher. And I don't care how good the one pitch is. You're going to struggle when you can't get your other pitches over the plate, right? You can't get that slider in. You can't throw that curveball. That changeup really is the pitch that works off of the fastball. He couldn't get that going at all tonight. And so I thought the battle to really only have the 3 hits be the thing that did him in. Unfortunately, all 3 of them went over the seats, went over the fences into the seats. But in a vacuum, that's what a kid making the 2nd start is probably going to go through in his first year. Unfortunately, the Mets, 21 games to go on the calendar, we care so deeply about each one of these games because we know how important they all are. And with the Mets starting pitching being in the state that it's in, we kind of need all these starts to be great. But I thought he was fine, all things considered, in the context of where the season is just not good enough for the Mets tonight. But overall, big picture, I thought it was fine for a kid's 2nd major league start at the big league level. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so that you are notified when we go live at the end of each and every Mets game. Again, no postcast for me tomorrow. I'll be handling things over on the Locked On Jets channel for the Jets postcast. The Mets leave 10 men on base. Jonah Tong allows 3 home runs. The only 3 hits that he allows in the game all go over the fence. And the Mets fall in this one 6-3. But get excited. Brandon Sproat makes his MLB debut tomorrow, and there'll be a lot of buzz as the Mets will try to take the finale of this 3-game series. Until then, have a good one, Mets fans.